sort of detox, that is disruptive talks on education. And we have with us very special guest, Ms. Sherin Ali, Global Lead CSR, WNS Global Services. Hello, ma'am, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Anupama. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me here.
Good evening. Uh, Purpose is an active expression of our values. And what is the power of purpose is what Ma'am Sharon Ali is going to be speaking about. A little bit about our guest. Ms. Sharon Ali, experienced, skilled, and forward thinking professional in stakeholder engagement and corporate social responsibility, responsible for the design, strategy, and implementation of social responsibility initiatives that are ethical, sustainable, and impactful for society. Equipped with a master's in business administration, specializing in marketing from Oklahoma City University, USA, and master's in commerce. Graduated with B.Ed, B.Com, B.A. in English literature, was chosen to represent the World Business Forum in New York in 2007. She started her career as a school teacher and later took up roles in business development, networking, and brand building, currently working in the CSR role for 7.5 years with WNS Cares Foundation. The CSR arm of WNS Global Services actively engage with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, forums globally, and work towards creating value through stakeholder engagement. Wow. So, without wasting much more time, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anupama. And a very good evening to everybody who is logged on for the program today. Um, uh, it's always a pleasure to talk to people, to understand, to learn from each other always as to what exactly is happening, how are we thinking disruptively to change uh, whatever the best we can do. And today, like Anupama mentioned, that the topic would be the power of purpose. And I would like to, talk about how how the power of purpose can make us uh, much better in our everyday life. So not only in our values, not only in our business, not only in our day-to-day work, but everything will take a new perspective if we inculcate the power of purpose in our daily life. I would like to present. I would like to use a presentation so that you all will also get a this thing like about what is the first slide, Anupama. So, if you all remember, Mark Twain had given a very important quote, and he had said, there are two important days in our life. The most important days in our life are the day when we are born, and the day when we realize why we are born. And that is where we do celebrate our birthdays every day. We do feel very happy. We get all these greetings. But the day when we know what we want to do, and that is the day when we will actually realize that what is the life's purpose, what is the actual goal, or the what are we really expecting from life. I'd like to start with a small story. So there was this farmer named John, and he had a corn farm, and he used to grow the best corn uh, in his area. Every year, he used to win awards for delivering the best quality and the quantity of the corn that he would grow. So one year, the press approached him and they said, "John, what is it that you do different? How are you able to grow the best corn and get the accolades every year?" So John said, very simple. What I do is when I go to buy corn, when I go to buy my corn seeds, I buy seeds of highest quality, and I also buy 5 extra bags. And what I do is I distribute those extra bags to the neighboring fields around me. So the press was kind of shocked. They said, "Why would you do something like that? Why would you feed your own competition?" So he said that, unless the corn in the other field is good, and corn grows with cross pollination. So unless the corn in other fields is good, my corn will never grow well. The extra efforts that I put are the ones which take me the extra mile, but unless my ecosystem is also good, my corn cannot grow good. So in your comments, you can probably put in as to, what do you think? I mean, what was the philosophy John was following? What is it that he felt like, uh, that getting the best corn, or getting awarded, or bringing out the best product in the world would also ensure that, he also is helping the ecosystem, right? And at this point, I will give a maybe a 5-second pause to all the audiences, whoever is here, to just write down a couple of, to maybe two purposes that you think are, you know relevant to you. I just give a five this thing, any two purposes in your life that you feel, are worth living for, or are worth what you want to actually gain. You can just write it down on your own, and any thoughts on the story about John, you can please put it in the message box. Okay. So I would like to see some comments, so that, I'm comfortable that everybody is on the same page. Anupama, the slides are blank, is it? The rest of them?
Uh, yeah, it looks like, uh, but I don't know why
You
is
can
that
just
so.
refresh them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you have noted down your two main purposes. I would like to ask a question. What is the purpose of education? Any comments in the box? Like, when a child educates, or a youth educates, or we educate, what is the purpose of education? Any, I don't see any comments in the box. So generally, the thought process is like, education. The purpose of education is mainly to, like, uh, maybe raise our knowledge, educate ourselves, become economically viable to our families, get good jobs, get good careers, and probably, like, be able to live a more uh, fulfilled life, where you can, like, have enough money, or enough resources to spend a comfortable life. Am I right? Okay. So what if we say that, the purpose of education, apart from getting a job or a career, apart from getting that, can also be something that involves a passion to do something, like, something that is a creative, something that we love to do, something that we want to, like, something that we want to do. What if it is, uh, it is like, uh, enjoined with, you can go back, Anupama, a little bit back on the slides. I think I'm on the third slide, or the fifth slide. On the fifth one, okay. Anyway, so let us not depend on technology, and let us, go ahead. So what if the purpose of education becomes a fuel for us to, fuel our passion, something that we love to do, something that we are made to do, something that is so special to us, that we are, that we work towards that. What is the kind of result? Obviously, if we look at, like, industrialist or any kind of a business house, or any flourishing industry, when there is passion involved with the purpose, obviously it becomes manifold. The like, the results become so much more better, right? So anybody any thoughts on that? So, for example, if Adubai is there on the call, so for example, if Adubai wants to put up a factory for maybe, making shoes, and his primary purpose, so he was educated, he was an engineer, and he said, okay, I'll become an entrepreneur, and I am going to, like, invest into making shoes, and I'm going to make, like, I'm going to make profits out of that. At the same time, if he also says that, why not I put my expertise into making something that is comfortable for the customer, that is something that is, more usable, more healthy, more eco-friendly, and then he makes a product which is, like, a combination of something which is going to serve the purpose for the customers, something that is going to make the customers happy. What happens then? His product gains a lot of, a lot of this thing in the market. It becomes, like, a valued product. It becomes something that you want to really buy. And when you start doing something like that, when you start putting your passion, or making your, making that inspiring to make something that is over and above, out of the box, and also conscious of the effects of the product. So for example, I will keep talking about Adubai. So he wants to build factory. He needs to ensure that, the is not going out, that the water that is used around is not contaminated. So all these consciousness, when he puts into making his money, then what happens, that he becomes, his product, not only his product becomes strong, but also his so if we go to the next slide, Anupama, I will just explain with that, like, how the, yeah. So when I was saying, like, that in case Dubai has to, create a product, or create an entrepreneurship or an industry where he needs to join both of them, the purpose as well as the profits. So what happens, that, you need to you need to understand that the interest of your customers, the suppliers, the employees who are working for you, the communities, and the finances, all these stakeholders go in the same direction. So if everybody is happy, so the decisions that we make, if they are aligned to all the stakeholders, and in the process, we are thinking about the people, the planet, and the profit. So we are not only taking profit as a standalone thing for a business, but where we are putting our thought into making the profitable business people first, planet first, and then profit. So once the interests of the stakeholders are aligned in the same direction, obviously the entire wheel changes. It accelerates. It takes a better approach. And going back to the story of John, what was he doing? He was taking his the around the ecosystem, his customers, the suppliers. He was ensuring that everybody is in the same direction and able to grow the best corn, right? So the entire thing revolves around the the purpose that you are there for. In case there is a business, and you if the purpose is only profit, obviously it gets impacted. But when the people and the planet are considered, the profits come automatically. So I will quickly touch upon what is CSR. CSR, as you all know, is the corporate social responsibility. Now, every corporate, especially in India, all the corporates are mandated to spend 2% of their profit on a social responsibility project, where while they are operating as a business, but 5% of the 2% of their profits goes into building the society, building the community, making people stronger. And all the time what they look at is how is the investment. So whatever the investment that a corporate makes, is it going to bring this the particular impact? What is the expertise that a particular corporate has that they can put into serving the society, and also ensure that the strategy is sustainable, that the projects or the work that they do with the society are long term. It is not any short term kind of a work that is like a one time donation of a meal, or just giving clothes to the poor, or giving books in a school. It has to be a long term. It has to be sustainable. So if they have to look at poverty, then they have to ensure that they're making employment opportunities. If it is about good education, they have to ensure that the learning systems in the school are better, not any one time. So those are the kind of sustainable strategies that are there. I would really love for all of you to put in any comments, because these are things that, like, in case you have any doubt, or in case you want to stop me somewhere, I would love to hear from you, because every time I do my talks, there is so much I go back with. And today also, I'm really looking forward that whoever is there and would like to, like, interact, I would love to answer your questions. So this is what about CSR. Now there is one thing that we a lot of times we don't know what is impact. Okay, we don't we don't know how to measure impact. Anupama, if you can go on just the next slide, we'll stop there on the next slide. Yeah, okay. So how do we measure impact? There is we can skip this. Yeah, we can skip this measure, and you can go on slide number the next one. The next slide you can go. Okay. So a lot of times, there is there is a confusion about how to measure impact. So, like, if Adubai wanted to make a factory for shoes, what is the final impact that he would want? What is the final goal that we look for? Now, a very simple story, if you look at, like, the crow story, all of us have heard it in our kindergarten, and some of you teachers must be still telling it to your students. What was the crow story? There was a thirsty crow who was looking for water. Finally, he found a pot of water with very little water. Good evening, Fatima. With very little water on the bottom of the pot. Now, what happened? He was thirsty and he wanted to drink that water, not able to reach the beak. So he got a little intelligent, and found some pebbles around and started putting the pebbles in the pot till the water rose. Now, as the water was rising, he knew that he had to keep putting more pebbles for the water to rise. So once, when the water rose to his beak's level, he was able to drink. After drinking the water, that was not his goal, right? After drinking the water, he wanted enough strength to fly away. And when he drank the water, his thirst was quenched. He was strong enough to now start flying out. All right. Now, how do we look at from crow? Great. So we a lot of times we confuse the inputs and the outputs. So what at times we think that, in any field that we're doing, for that matter, even in education or in business or whatever, when we put in something and we get that out, we think that that is what we are working for. So when the crow put the pebble, the water rose. He put the pebble and the water rose. Was that the ultimate goal? It was not. So the input was the pebble, the output was the rise in water. The outcome was where the water rose to his beak, and the impact was the crow getting enough strength to fly. So in a lot of our in our life stages, we feel that that what we are doing. So suppose we give an exam and we get marks. So I gave an exam for 50 marks. We can remain on that slide only for some time. If I gave an exam for 50 marks and I say, 45, or I got 30, okay, I've passed. Input, the output was the marks. We forget what is the goal. The goal was to actually understand and learn so that we can apply. In a business, it says, okay, I buy 10 pairs of shoes and I sell them. I get a profit piece. Or is establishing with a brand, that is more important. So the final impact, to understand the final impact, is very important. And unless we keep that, so when I told you all, I gave you all 5 seconds to write your purposes. So if you look down at the purpose again and you say, okay, what have I written, you feel free to change it, feel free to change those purposes. But then, is that purpose the ultimate impact, or is it in the input, output, and outcome stage? Right? Okay. So the next slide, Anupama. Any queries? I would still love to, talk to you all. Anybody, any kind of a query, I'm looking at the chat box all the time, waiting for somebody to respond and say something where I can, we can have a meaningful discussion. uh, Anupama, I can't see the slide. Okay, great. Yeah. So, how do we, so any kind of social, a CSR, how does it become relevant? How does it become relevant for the society, or how does any kind of achievement, or any kind of the strategy that we are, how does it become relevant? How does it become impactful? And that is what is gone into a CSR policy, that what is the kind of activity. So suppose we say, okay, quality education. Now when we talk about quality education to be imparted to students, what is the final goal that we're looking at? The final goal is looking at, that the child gets knowledge, gets wisdom, is able to use that knowledge for a higher purpose, and to understand that his purpose can be fulfilled through the knowledge gained. So that is the final impact. Studying, getting marks, that is the input and output stage. Outcome is maybe, okay, you graduate. But then what is the impact of the final impact? That is what aligns with the purpose. Okay. Yeah. So next slide, Anupama, we'll talk about the UN SDGs. Now, most of you all would have heard about what United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are, because what the United Nations is, literacy is a colossal problem. What are your views, ma'am, on the CSR input and output for literacy? So that's exactly what I told Fatima, that the literacy that is being put in, the final usage of it is what has to be set, or as a goal for not only a teacher, not only for a student, for anybody. The goal has to be set as to what exactly is to be gained after the literacy is complete. I answer your question? Okay. So I'll just move on to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. have been set by the United Nations globally, so that we are not working, we are not, the CSR, especially the corporate social responsibility, or any philanthropy for that matter, or any NGOs, are not working in directions which are varied. There maybe somebody is going and feeding some poor children, somebody is going and donating some books, somebody is going and donating some uniforms, or somebody. It has to be focused towards a particular direction. And that is what the 17 development goals have given, that, like, you can see the no poverty, no hunger, quality education, water under life. So these are all the goals that have been set, so that everybody is working towards these goals. And the goals are 16, and the 17th goal is very, very important, because that is where collaboration is, they're asking for collaboration. Now when you talk about collaboration, that, to create any impact, it is never possible alone. It is always in a collaboration that can be done. So even when corporates are doing it on their own, or NGOs are doing it on their own, single, single okay, so single efforts will not matter. The collaboration matters, and that is what now the entire world is heading to. 2030 is where we are looking at fulfilling most of these goals. We've only 8 years left, and the work that is to be done is humongous. And that is why this talk about the impact, about the purpose, about working towards one goal is becoming so important, because the entire world needs to, align itself, ensure that the impact that we're looking at, not the outcome, not the output, the impact that we're looking at, is achieved. And since today we have got all educators, and mainly in the literacy field, we will the goal 4, the sustainability goal 4, on the next slide, Anupama. So, which is, giving quality education to the, it's providing quality education to. So it says, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, here it is very clear. So, Fatima, again, this will also answer your question about literacy, because it is making education in such a way that it becomes a habit or a learning process, which is a lifelong thing. It is not limited to schooling or colleges or it is a lifelong learning opportunities. And like I told you, by 2030, the goal 4 says that all girls and boys complete free, equitable, and primary and secondary education, leading to relevant and effective learning outcomes. So please ensure that you are paying attention, that the outcomes need to be effective, they need to be impactful. So whatever the education that is being given for at the primary and secondary level to boys, girls, it needs to have effective learning outcomes to increase the youth and adults who have relevant skills for employment and entrepreneurship. Now, so we cannot stop at education. That, what are we teaching? Are we teaching things? Are the objectives of the learning actually aligning with the future purpose? And it's not only about jobs, it's about relevant skills. So if a person is good in something, he or she needs to be honed in that and ensure that they are adding value on that level. It is only then that they will succeed. If a person is doing something and almost 80%, or I think it's a little more, 80 to 82% of people who are working as on date are not doing things that they like. They are working for a job that will give them money, and they are suffering because they are not able to put in their skills. So the education level is where we start putting in the thought process that value add, your passion. These are the things that will, and even the sustainable development goals say that you need to have relevant skills. So even if when you're reading a math or science or not, still focus on the child's relevant skills. And for the foundation literacy and numeracy, it is to all the by 2030 again, that all youth and a substantial proportion of adults achieve literacy and numeracy. Now what happens is, where a substantial adults are not having that kind of like exposure. I am on the fourth on the SDG 4 only, uh, Anupama. We'll come down to this later. I'm on slide number 14. Yeah, yeah. So, this is what, these are the guidelines that have been put globally, and everybody who's working. So the school institutions, the other organizations who are in the education field, the NGOs, the corporates, everybody would like to work towards a direction which lets us, achieve a continuous learning and developing relevant skills. Now, as an example, I'm working for WNS Case Foundation, which is the CSR arm of WNS Global Services, like Anupama told in the beginning. So, as an example, I would just like to show you all how a CSR is conducted by a corporate to get the maximum benefit. Anupama, what is the time that I need to finish? I think I'm already running short of time. Or can I just continue for 2 more minutes? Okay, so I'll just quickly wind up my talk.
No,
So,
no, you can continue. It's perfectly okay.
okay, fine, fine, fine. So, as an example, like how a corporate does, I'm talking about the WNS Cares Foundation. That apart from business, WNS also works at creating a sustainable impact on communities in all its locations. So what happens is that when a corporate is working, while it's there to make, while it's they made to give the best products and the best services, and earn profits, but it also has a huge responsibility to the stakeholders, and community becomes a part of the stakeholders. So like I told you in the beginning, like like how a corporate will pick up one activity. Okay, Adubai. Okay, I'll just quickly finish that and I'll come to your question. A very good question Adubai has put. I will just come back to that. Yeah. So, and that is where exactly we are. So, if you listen to what I'm talking, I think it will also answer your question. And what does WNS do is that they have created a vision that we will educate beyond academics, empower the students so that the divide is bridged, and also enrich with real life skills. Okay. Now, very truly, like Adubai has just put in the comments, that government schools, private schools which are not very affluent, marginalized schools have a problem where the education, the studies, the schools are not focusing on education, and that is where corporates enter. And what they do is, they, with the help of NGOs, they create learning centers. So for example, WNS, what it has done is, we can go to the next slide. We have created learning centers in schools, where we have created computer labs, given teachers, ensured that the learning content comes into their timetable, and every child is able to attend that computer lab twice or thrice in a week. So what are we doing? Because the government, the semi-government, and the private schools, some of them who are not very well equipped, and they don't have good facilities, the children drop out. They don't want to go to the school because they don't want to study the regular thing. So we create an environment where we are giving them digital education. We also create libraries. We give a whole lot of books so that the students get their hands on the books and they can start reading, start getting their minds ignited of gaining more knowledge. We even send mobile vans and small community libraries we create inside the slums, so that the children who are there can have access to the books. Okay. Apart from that, we also do youth skilling, where the youth who have graduated are upskilled for jobs in domain trainings, and they are helped to get jobs in their areas of interest. Okay, so this is how a CSR of a company works. And again, why this slide shows UN SDG alignment, because the programs that are created in such a way that all the corporates or all the institutions are working in the same direction, so that when we create a learning center for a child, or when we create, opportunities for a child to come to school and study, it is going in the same direction, that the child is getting educated, the child is getting knowledge, the child is becoming wise, getting lifelong learning capabilities. So that is what everybody is, you know moving towards. And that is how the CSRs, they align their the SDG goal with their policies. So now every CSR, every company creates a CSR policy and ensures that the topics that are there in the CSR policy, or the activities that are listed down, are are in such a way that they are sustainable, that when they are put in a school, it is ensured that the child who is learning has got a long term or a lifelong kind of a learning, and there is an impact. So where the crow was able to drink water and fly away, get the strength to fly, that is what we want. We want the child to get the strength to fly. Or if we have women empowerment, we want the women to get empowered to do overdo. If we are looking at the environment, where we are touching, environmental issues, we want to ensure that the environment is clean. It is feasible for people to breathe easy and live easy. So that is how the activities are divided, and that is how people work. Otherwise, I will say so. In your city, which is your city, wherever, so the government schools definitely have problems, because they may not have funds, or they may not have, they may not have enough money to pay to get good teachers. And this is where the corporates step in, or the NGOs step in, and they try to ensure that, their schools are handheld and making. So, for example, WNS works with 1,286 schools globally. So, like, we ensure that whichever school we go, we remain over there. We do not donate something and move out. We give a teacher, a paid teacher. We give equipment. We give digital learning systems. We give libraries, and ensure that all those are inculcated. And what we see, when we do all these things, we see that the attendance is increased, the dropouts are decreased, the students are more interested to come, and that is the impact that we are looking at, is that the communities around are becoming more educated. The children who are coming in from that community are, so the impact will never be seen in the initial stages. Some impact, so the crow's impact maybe in an hour or so, when he was able to put pebbles and drink water and get the strength. But the education impact might take about 10 years or 12 years to show its complete impact. If a child had started from here, where did he reach? Was he able to gain something that he was passionate about? So that is how it works. And usually, what happens is, like, because these kind of, so when I talk today, there are a number of people whom I can reach out to. But when we reach out to the youth, when we reach out to the academic sections, when we reach out to, like, to students, we are able to involve them in projects which are governance strong. So we do not want a CSR to become. So I will tell you a quick story about Rajesh. There was one boy called Rajesh, one man called Rajesh, and during the week he used to do all kinds of, immoral things, and, selling, cheating people, selling stuff which was, overpriced, selling things which are bad, not very of very good quality. But on every Sunday, he would go to church and he would pray, and he would put some money in the box and say, God, forgive me. Okay. So we do not want CSR to look like that. We do not want, so if Adubai is making up a company where he's going to make shoes, we don't want him to pollute the air, to pollute the water resources, to make all sorts of bad effects on the environment, and then spend 2% from his profits as CSR, saying that, okay, I have done all this wrong, but now I will do right, and I will probably educate the children in my region. So let us not look at CSR like that. Let it become a governance as part of our DNA. Let all the decisions in the business become purposeful, become something that are, aligned towards a certain goal. Right? So I would like the questions, if there are any, Anupama, if you can voice out any of their concerns, I would like to address that also. And is there any gray area, something that was not very clear? I would love to clarify that.
Yeah, ma'am. Very, very, we very feel very honored the kind of things CSR is actually doing and how you've been involved in this is really amazing. There is this question. I don't know. In my city, mostly government schools are not focusing the children education, and why children are not able to read. What are your views, ma'am, on that topic? How we can educate them?
Yeah, so exactly like I explained, like, all the schools, the government school, private schools, and all, which are marginalized, they do have that issue because they are lack of funds, and they are, I mean, sometimes it's a lot of bureaucracy. Also, sometimes it's like, or different reasons that can go into, like, schools not operating. So that is where corporates, enter those areas and try to ensure that the facilities, the learning outcomes for the children, the interest of education is, being withheld. So that's what I explained about our company, like, how WNS does it as a example.
Yeah, awesome. Another question here is that what are the main bottlenecks in the way of reliable access to quality education resources and how can we overcome them?
So, per se, there are no, I mean, quality education is available everywhere. The bottleneck probably would be the same thing, like, where there would be a little bit of maybe bureaucracy, or maybe lack of funds, or the sometimes the NGOs or the school authorities are also not well equipped as to what the districts can give them. So the
Yeah,
district education office, they've got some allocation, something that is also there. So those things also can become a part of, like, their knowledge building. So if the NGOs or if the schools are built on their capacity or built on their knowledge, the access to education or the access to educational information is not an issue, but the intelligence to access is where the issue comes.
very, very rightly said, ma'am. So, thank you so much for being on the show with us. It has been extremely rejuvenating to hear out your views and your activities and how you're handling the complete SDGs. So we now think of starting a revolution in fundraising, one that focuses not just on the philanthropic impact, but also on recognizing and empowering the awesomeness in every child.
Exactly.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you again. And it was such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you,
Thank you.
audience. This
Thank you
is
so
your
much.
host. Yeah. Thank you, audience. Good evening again. And this is Anupma Mahajan signing off. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.